Good morning Year 8 and welcome to today's maths lesson. Let's start off with a quick starter, shall we? Can you simplify 9 over 27 for me? Can you then decrease 12 by 25%? And can you find the area of a circle with radius 3 centimetres? Leave your answers in terms of pi, no need to use a calculator. Pause the video for a couple of minutes and answer those questions in your light blue books, please. Okay, let's go through the answers. So I'm simplifying 9 over 27. When I simplify a fraction, I need to divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number. So what number goes into both 9 and 27, Jake? 9 goes into both 9 and 27, so let's divide top and bottom by 9. 9 divided by 9 just leaves me with 1. 27 divided by 9 leaves me with 3. You might have divided by 3 to give you 3 over 9 and then divided by 3 again to give you 1 over 3. That also works absolutely fine. Okay, next question. We are looking at decreasing 12 by 25%. My first question to you, Sophie, how can I find out what 25% of 12 is? Great, let's divide it by 4. 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. So we know that 3 is equal to 25% of 12. Happy so far? The question says I need to take 12 and I need to decrease it by 25%. So I need to take my 12, subtract the 25%, so subtract 3, which leaves me with 9. And finally, I asked you to find the area of a circle with radius 3 centimetres. Henry, what's the formula for the area of a circle? Great, pi r squared. So we've been told our radius is 3. So my area is going to be pi multiplied by 3 squared. 3 squared is what, James Cork? 9, lovely. So my area is just 9 pi, and I've been told to leave my answer in terms of pi, so that's exactly what I'll do. Okay, Year 8, this is our lesson destination for today. We're going to start looking at ratios. First up, who likes Nutella? Indeed, most people do like Nutella, but why do we like it? Here's a jar of Nutella. What's actually in this jar? Well, within this jar of Nutella, mixed together are these ingredients. You can see it in the picture. There's some kind of oil in there, there's some kind of nuts in there, there's some cocoa and there's some sugar. This bottom section here, making up approximately half of the jar, is sugar. And the rest of the ingredients make up the other half of the jar. So for every 1 gram of sugar, we've got 1 gram of another ingredient in there. So the ratio of sugar to all the other ingredients is 1 to 1. Half of it's sugar, the other half is everything else. So the ratio of sugar to all other ingredients is 1 to 1. If I split that jar into 2, one of those parts will be sugar, the other part will be everything else. Out of interest, pause the video for a minute. What are the other ingredients in Nutella? Let's find out, shall we? We've got some hazelnuts in there, hence the name Nutella. We've got some low-fat cocoa, we've got some milk powder, and we've got some palm oil, but it's the sugar that makes it taste so good. Right, blue book's out for me, Year 8. Can I have the title ratio? And underneath the title, can you write this definition? A ratio compares the size of 2 or more amounts. So before we were comparing the amount of sugar versus all other ingredients in Nutella. Now we're going to be looking at some different examples. Pause the video and write that in your dark blue books now, please. Okay, pens down. I'm going to go through an example and you're going to do an example. My first example, it says, what's the ratio of blue to yellow paint tins? I've got 1 blue one and 5 yellow ones. So for A, I'm going to write that in the ratio 1 to 5. So for every 1 blue paint can, I've got 5 yellow ones. Let's look at part C. For part C, this time I've got 3 blue ones. Let's count them, 1, 2, 3. And for every 3, I've got 2 yellow ones. Read the question. It's asking you for the ratio of blue to yellow. So the first number's got to be the blue ones, the second one's got to be the yellow ones. Over to you, Year 8. Pause the video for a minute, and in your dark blue books, can you work out these 2 ratios for me? Okay, let's go through the answers. We're looking for blue to yellow. So the first one has got 4 blue cans to 1 yellow. And for the second one, we're looking at 3 blue cans, and for every 3 blue cans, we've got 4 yellows. Splendid. Make sure you've got that example in your dark blue books for me. And then in your light blue books, can you pause the video for a couple of minutes and write the ratio of men to women? Bananas to strawberries, read the question, we want bananas first. Fish to frogs, black to white, and blue to green. Pause the video for a couple of minutes and work those out in your light blue books for me, please. And these are the answers I was looking for. We've got 4 men to 1 woman. Bananas to strawberries, we need to start with the bananas, so that's 5 to 2. Fish to frogs is 6 to 4. Black to white is going to be not 12 to 4, it's going to be 4 to 12. And blue to green is 6 to 12. Back to our dark blue books. I'm going to go through an example and then you're going to do an example. This time I've been asked what's the ratio of yellow to blue paint tins. So my first number this time is my yellow. So for A, the ratio is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yellows. And for every 5 yellows, I've got 1 blue paint can. And Alicia, for part C, how many yellow paint cans have I got? 2. Excellent. And James Cork, how many blue have I got? 3. Excellent. In your dark blue books, can you write me the ratio of yellow to blue paint tins on this side? Pause the video for a minute and work those out now, please. Let's go through the answers. We've got 1 to 4 blues for the first one. And for the second one, yellow to blue paint cans, I've got 4 lots of yellow. And for every 4 lots of yellow, I've got 3 blue ones. Okay, Year 8, ABCD cards. What's the ratio of squares to circles? In your light blue books, can you write me A, B, C or D? All vote now. And I was looking for B. I've got 8 squares to 5 circles. How about now? There are 6 red counters and 5 black. What's the ratio of black to red? Read the question. Pause the video for a minute and write your answer in your light blue book. Okay, so I've got 5 black to 6 red, so it's going to be B. In your dark blue books, can you write ratio in the middle of your page? And can you write some kind of definition, some kind of characteristics of a ratio, a couple of examples and a couple of non-examples for me? Pause the video, have them think for a couple of minutes and write these in your dark blue books now, please. Right, so my definition is a comparison of 2 numbers by division, assuming they have the same units. They must always have the same units. My characteristics, I've said it's 2 numbers, a division, and again, same units. Some examples I came up with were 2 out of 3, and some non-examples, I've just said 23 or 2, 3, they're clearly not ratios. Moving on, we're going to look at simplifying ratios. So the simplest form means they have the same unit and there are no decimals. No decimals involved in a simplified ratio. Here's my question to you. How would you simplify 18 over 20? Libby, how would you simplify 18 over 20? Divide top and bottom by 2? Very wise. If I divide top and bottom by 2 of my fraction, I'm left with 9 over 10. And that's fully simplified. I can't divide that anymore, as I would then get a decimal. So what about a ratio? Tipping my fraction over, tipping it over a little bit more, tipping it all the way over. How would I simplify 18 over 20? Well, I'd do it in the same way. I just divide both sides by 2. Process is still the same, just as with a fraction. And I get 9 to 10, just like the fraction above. If we look at this on a diagram, here I've got the ratio 24, 6 by 4, 24 to 16. And if I want to simplify that in the same way as a fraction, if I put a box around the top row, that ratio is now 6 to 4. But I can simplify further. How about if I half that row and half this row? I've now got the ratio of 3 to 2. And that's the process you're doing when you're dividing top and bottom by the same number each time. So dark blue books out for me, Year 8. Can I have the title Simplifying Ratios? And underneath, can you write the sentence, simplest form means same unit and no decimals. When you've got that written down, can you pause the video to write that down, and then I'm going to go through an example. Okay, I'm going to go through an example, then you're going to do an example. I've asked you to simplify 9 over 12. What number goes into both 9 and 12 for me, Theo? 3. Awesome. So I can divide both sides of my ratio by 3, just like if it was a fraction. And that leaves me with 3 to 4. I can no longer divide that ratio any further, otherwise it's going to give me a decimal. So that is my simplest form. Over to you, Year 8. Can you pause the video for a minute or two and have a go at this example in your dark blue books now? Okay, Joseph, what number goes into both 9 and 15? 3. Lovely. So I can divide both sides by 3. Which is going to leave me with 3 to 5 as my simplest form. I can't divide it any further, otherwise I'll get a decimal. Over to you, Year 8. In your light blue books, can you pause the video for 10 minutes and have a go at simplifying these? As you go through, what do you notice about 3 and 4? When you get to 5, here's a hint. I can't have a decimal within my ratio, but what could I multiply both sides by to get rid of that decimal? And what do you notice about questions 7 and 8? As you go through, have a think about those questions for me. Pause the video for 10 minutes and work these out in your light blue books now. And these are the answers. Please check how you did. You'll notice that 3 and 4 are exactly the same, because I can multiply 4 by 2 to get 8 and 5 by 2 to get 10. Okay, Year 8, can you pause the video and in your light blue books have a go at this exam question for me? This should take about 3 to 4 minutes. Off you go. Okay, let's go through the answers. So we've been told that Paul's sister is exactly 6 years younger than Paul. If Paul's 21, we know that his little sister, 6 years younger, must be 15. So we've got the ratio 21 to 15. But we've been asked to simplify that ratio. So, Mia, what number goes into both 21 and 15? 3. Awesome. So I can divide both sides by 3. If I divide both sides by 3, I'm left with 7 to 5. I can't simplify that any further, so my simplest ratio is 7 to 5. Next question. His sister is 36. What will be the ratio of Paul's age to his sister's age? So this time his sister's 36. We know that Paul is going to be 6 years older, so Paul is going to be 42. Let's simplify that. If we divide both sides by 2, we're left with 18 and 21. We can now divide both sides by 3, which will leave us with 7 to 6. We can't simplify that any further, so that is my final answer. Well done if you got that right, Year 8. Okay, let's talk decimals. In your dark blue books, can you write the title Simplify Ratios with Decimals? Pens down, eyes on the board. I'll go through an example, you go through an example. So my first question says simplify 12.8 to 6.2. Now we don't want a decimal within our ratio. We know we can't have that there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. We know we can do this because as long as we're doing the same thing to both sides, the ratio will remain the same. So this gives me 128 to 62. And now it looks highly similar to all the examples we've been doing before. If I divide both sides by 2, I'm left with 31. And James Giddon, what's 128 divided by 2? 64, splendid. So I've simplified it to 64 to 31. I know I can't simplify it any further because 31 is a what type of number, Amelia? A prime number, very nice. Over to you, Year 8, in your dark blue books. Pause the video for a minute and simplify this ratio for me. Okay, let's simplify it in exactly the same way. Let's multiply both sides by 10 to start me off to get rid of that decimal. That's going to leave me with 68 to 242. Now we can go by the same process again. If I divide both sides by 2, that leaves me with 121 and 34. So my simplified ratio would be 34 to 121. Please make sure you've got this example in your dark blue books for me, Year 8. And then can we pause the video, and in your light blue books, can you simplify each of these ratios for me, remembering to start off by multiplying both sides by 10 to get rid of that decimal place. The answers are down at the bottom, so match your answer to each question. Pause the video for 10 minutes and do these now. And here's my answers. Please check your work and see how you did. And finally, cast your minds back to the beginning of the lesson when we were talking about Nutella. I showed you this lesson destination. Can you now pause the video and have a go at this exam question that should take about 5 minutes in your light blue books? Off you go. And here's the answers. Please check how you did. Thanks very much for today, Year 8. Please head over to Google Classroom and complete the exit ticket I've posted there. Have a splendid day. Goodbye.